Antinatalist policies are policies made to control the growth of a nation's population by imposing limits on childbirth.
The aim of an anti-natalist policy is to decrease the total fertility rate as well as the crude birth rate.
Birth rates can be reduced through better education on family planning or better provision of contraception.
These policies are commonly used in countries with larger population numbers than resources available, such as China, India, or a few decades ago, Singapore.
The most well-known policy is China's one-child policy, which was introduced in 1979 to solve economical, social, and environmental problems.
With this policy, women could have only one child, otherwise they would have punishments.
These punishments could be fees or less governmental support, and even in some cases, forced sterilization.
When it was recognized in China that the growth rate of China's population was increasing rapidly, the country began promoting birth control and family planning. When these efforts were first introduced, they were completely voluntary.
By 1978, the country was approaching the 1 billion mark, and a voluntary program was announced to encourage families to have no more than 2 children.
This plan was still unsuccessful, and all had to adhere to the one-child policy.
The policy was more effective in urban areas with smaller families who were willing to comply with the policy. Most persons in rural areas denied to follow.
Sanctions were imposed against persons who restricted the policy, and even stronger measures such as forced abortions and sterilizations were used against persons that violated the policy.
The one-child policy was a success because the fertility rate dropped from almost 6 to about 1.7. Population growth dropped from around 2.61% in the late 1960s to about 0.65% today. Birth rates have fallen from 45 to about 13 today. Up to 250 million births have been prevented since 1979. Contraception is more available.
The one-child policy was a failure because China's population is still 1.3 billion and growing. There are a shortage of workers in some areas, there is a gender imbalance, a large number of female babies were killed because boys were highly favored, and there is still a large aging population, which creates a large dependency ratio.
The one-child policy finally ended in 2015 after 3 decades.
Couples can now request to have 2 children, but families are still required to get